Hi, my name is Paula Hansen, and I'm a graphic recorder. I make visual
Oops.
notes at meetings and conferences all over the world. Or I did until the coronavirus changed everything. No more events. So I had to consider, what was I going to do? First step, just say no to the couch potato. I asked myself, well, what have I always wanted to do but never found the time for? What's important to me? After some reflection, I decided I'll learn a new drawing program and a new video editing program, and I'll make a video about one of my favorite topics. So I jumped in, and after a few brief tutorials, and by that I mean 1,000 YouTube videos and some very late nights, I was off and running. I finally finished, and the result is the video that follows. I think we could all use some extra inner resource right now, so I hope you find this useful and enjoyable.
Awesome. So let me stop sharing here and let me introduce you to Paula Hansen. She's a graphics recorder and she does this for a living. And what she does is she goes to live events and puts up this big screen of drawing paper and draws on it. And it's all the notes visually of what's being said at the event. That's my way of interpreting it, but I'm going to have Paula tell us more about what that is. Paula, thanks for being live with me.
My pleasure, Brigette, my pleasure.
So what is a graphics recorder?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's basically live visual note-taking, in the moment, capturing people's conversations. And some people call it scribing. Some people call it visual note-taking. Sometimes people just say, oh, our artist is here. There's a lot of different names for it, but it's all the same thing. It's like a visual graphics capture. And it's sort of, it's like part of it's words, but part of it's also the pictures. It's like a right brain, left brain combination. So it's words and pictures together. And the pictures and the color sort of make it engaging, and they help people engage with the content. That's how I look at it. It makes it fun, and it also it's stimulating. It helps people learn, because when they're engaged, they tend to remember.
And like, what's the most common thing that people do when they're watching you work? Like, do they come over and ask you questions, or do they take pictures? What do they do?
Oh, it's been really fun. Sometimes people just come over and go, "What are you doing?" And a lot of times, if people come over, they'll start talking about their children. It's so sweet. They go, "My daughter's an artist," or "My son likes to draw," and which just totally reminds me that the artist in all of us is completely alive when we're young. And then they see me and they go like, "Wow, look, somebody who's using their art to make a living," and then they get sort of hopeful about their son or daughter. It's like, oh, they're so artistic, maybe there's a way they can keep that.
That's
And
very cool.
yeah.
That reminds me of, like, I got a degree in art, fine
Mhm.
art, not commercial art, but I knew I'm not going to make it as a fine artist. And so right out of college, I got a job assisting an art director as a graphic artist. And so my whole career is being a graphic artist, graphic designer, creative director. And one of my commitments was to succeed and make money, because I didn't want to be one of those starving artists, right? And to help other artists see how can you monetize your talent. And when I hear that, like when they say, "Oh, my daughter loves to draw," there's kind of this tinge I hear of like they're not gonna have a successful career.
Yeah, exactly, because it's mostly people in the business world who are seeing me, and then
Mm-hmm.
they have these artistic children, and sometimes the daughter is 7, and or sometimes they're 27, but they're like, my daughter loves art, or my son likes art. So I love your mission, because it's really, and I feel so privileged. I feel so privileged when to be able to do this, because when I went to college. I was a double major in math and art, and I knew I really wanted to be a painter. So I thought, I'm going to get a master's in painting. And so I did. I got a master's degree in painting, and then I really didn't know what to do. So I used my math part and went into computer stuff. So I got a job, being a programmer, and I ended up being an analyst. And then I never really loved that. So eventually I sort of went on a quest, and for like, what else can I do? And I saw a graphic recording, and I was like, that's it. And I never forget that night. I went home. I went home and I was lying in bed. It was like I had been plugged into the electric current. I was like, I was like, I found it. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I just am so grateful that I did, because it's a combination. I get to be in the business world, which, I sort of enjoy problem solving and everything, and I get to bring my artistic skills. So it's
Yeah,
been
I
a
know.
good
I
combination.
had the same thing. I didn't know how I was going to make money. And I remember the last 6 months of my college career, I went into the career center to see, well, what can people do to make money as art? And I was seeing all these things that they didn't tell us in school, because obviously I was studying fine art, but commercial art. Okay, so you can paint backdrops at theaters and get paid for it.
Wow.
I remember when I lived in Hollywood in junior high and high school, we lived right off of Sunset, and we used to walk home every day on Sunset by Tower Records. And if anyone's familiar with Tower Records in the 70s, they used to paint all the albums on these giant canvases outside. And the
Mhm.
artists would sit on these scaffolds and paint all day. And I would watch them and go, wow, they get money for that? It's just,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
befuddling how much you can do with your art and make money.
I think I started in about 2000, and I bumped into somebody. I found it. I saw somebody, and then she said, "You should come to the conference next weekend." It was the next weekend, and it was like it's called the International Forum of Visual Practitioners. And when I went to that conference, there had to be 50 people there, maybe 35. I mean, there weren't very many. And they had a little I think in the first day or the first afternoon, they had what they called the newbies session. And I met the most wonderful people. That was the other reason I loved being a graphic recorder, because the community was wonderful. Everybody was so nice and welcoming. Now they have, like, it's a giant convention. It costs like $1,500 or $2,000 to go. I mean, I went. It was 250. That was a long time ago. But it's really expanded, and a lot of it is people, illustrators. Somehow it's like it used to be facilitators who wanted to facilitate better, so that's how they got into adding graphics. Now it's art people, illustrators. They were like, all I have to do is do it fast in front of other people, no problem. And cartoonists. I mean, I have colleagues now because sometimes there's meetings where they need multiple people. So I have one of my colleagues is a cartoonist. He was like, sure, I can do cartoons in public, big, no problem. So it's
Well,
neat to see the different people coming into the field.
yeah, and it's awesome. And I know that there's some artists, like when I was in college, there was some artists that were super shy. They had no people skills. And if you're going to run any business, you have to have some people skills. So I love that when you're up there drawing and they ask you questions or they share your stories, you're able to interact with them. I know for myself, I'm left-handed, and when I'm drawing on the board or writing words or something, I can't talk and draw at the same time because it crosses the brain, right? Our voice is on the same side or something, or other side, so it can't cross over as I'm drawing. Or I can kind of do it, but I have to stop and then I can talk.
That is so true. And because I feel like part of my job is to, it's almost like being a hostess, because I'm introducing something nobody's ever seen. So they'll come up and start talking to me in the middle of a speech or a talk, and I'm like, I cannot process two information streams through but so I have to say really nicely, maybe we could have this conversation during a break, because I just missed what the guy was saying.
So funny. I mean, for a lot of my Facebook friends who know me, a lot of them don't know that I'm a graphic designer by trade, and I run a business. I've had my business for 20 years, and my emphasis recently in the last few years is creating slides for presentations. Really up leveling the slides so that
Mhm.
they're like give that Hollywood effect. And we all want to eliminate the boring presentation. I'm sure you've seen a lot of slideshows out there that just were horrible. And so the eyes can go over to you and look at your stuff and say, okay, that's engaging for me. So, and it's weird too, because I've been in this industry for 30 plus years. I've done a lot of live events, probably average 8 events a year, traveling all over the world. And I've never come across someone like you
Ah,
working that event. And it's like, how could I miss this?
well, that's what's actually the fun thing about it is that even though, like I said, it's the field has mushroomed, almost everywhere I go, there's tons of people who've never seen it before. So it sort of never gets old because there's always people who's like, oh my God, I've heard about it, but I've never seen it, or I saw some charts after a meeting that I didn't go to. But so, and the thing about graphic recording is when you explain it, it's like, when you see the chart examples, you're like, I think so. But when you see it done live, it all clicks in. Like I had one of my clients, she said, basically my girlfriend told me that I had to have you come. And so I trusted her. I had no idea. She told me what it was, but I couldn't get it. And she goes, now that you're here, I get it. I love it. And, but you can't really imagine. It's a little bit hard to imagine the impact.
Yeah, I'm just putting on screen some of your
Uh-huh.
work so that they get an idea. So think of your at a meeting. Maybe it's a 2 hour meeting, maybe it's an 8 hour meeting, but she'll take the concepts of what's being conveyed and write some words down, put some graphics together, and it just works on that brain. It's like, oh my God, it's so engaging. I love this. Can you see your screen? Can you see what that is?
Yes, I
So
can. Yes.
talk a little bit about it.
Um, yeah, digital trends. Well, actually, one of the things that's interesting to me is that there seems to be, like, I go to a lot of meetings, obviously, and a lot of it's brainstorming, visioning meetings, where people have, the reason they've hired me, they don't hire me for every meeting, but they might hire me, well, we have to figure out what we're going to do to meet the challenges of today's environment. That's one of the, and we need to visualize our future. We need to really dig into this. So then they'll say, let's get a graphics person to help us with the visioning. And a lot of it's all the same problem. It's all the same. Like the world is changing so fast. What are we going to do? That's basically the same, like every business, every industry is up against the same thing. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll have, I've been to a lot of meetings where they'll try and educate people. This is all the, this is how you do design thinking to solve a problem. These are all the digital trends that are happening, like, virtual reality and Internet of Things and chips in your clothes. And then they'll give a bunch of examples, and then they'll turn the people loose and go, what are you guys know your business best. How can you respond? And it's really interesting to see what they come up with. Like they were the agriculture guys, there's a bunch of basically farm people, and they're used to like tractors and fertilizer. And they started thinking about, well, what if we had like, what if the fertilizer, like smart fertilizer on what are those, the things that fly? I forget, bots that fly.
Oh,
Drone,
drones. Yeah.
drone. Yeah, like what if the drone could sense the chemical of the soil and then automatically mix the right kind of fertilizer for that chemical? How much
Yeah.
would that help our farmers? So it's fun to see people, and most of these are the presentation part of the concepts, because once they start coming up with their stuff, then that's proprietary. So I don't get to share that.
Right. Right. I know with me, a lot of the slideshows I work on are proprietary and I can't show them to the public. But and how I met you was through our friend Dory Glass class, sorry. And she showed this to our mastermind of this graphic that you did for her. I'm not even sure exactly what it was, some mind map or something, or
it was actually cool. It was like a chart that mapped out her business offering. Like it was sort of like, if you work with me, here's the journey that you'll go on. And so that's the other thing, is like the graphics can be like explainers. So if someone says to Dory, for instance, so you're going to help me with my business or whatever, what's your process? And instead of, it gives a visual map of, this is what I'm about. It's like a one page. Some people, they're also like leave behinds. One time I did a graphic resume.
I love it.
And it was just a chart that showed, her experience and her strengths and what she wanted, all this. And it was so fun because the next interview she went to, she got the job.
Oh, that's so
It's like,
cool.
It was so exciting. I was like, okay, it's done finally. And it took a long time because it's like wallpaper, you know, or paint chips. You paint, you see the chip, you paint it, and you go, oh, that's not it. When someone's trying to make an explainer of their business, as soon as they see it written down or on their chart, they go, yeah, that's close, but that's not it. And so it's a real deep, it's usually a deep, like interactive process to actually get, it helps people refine what they really want to say about themselves because they're committing it to a chart. So
Yeah,
anyway,
no,
we
it's
finally
great.
got it, and then she got the job. It was like, yay.
Well, and what I love about that is that you not only do these live graphics recorder stuff, but you can create these individual graphics for people, like these explainer, explain your business
Yeah.
individually.
What happened was
And,
they'd say, oh,
yeah,
you're our artist. Oh, our artist is here. And then people would say, well, okay, great. We now have our strategy. We've developed it, but now we need to communicate it to the rest of the business. Can you make a map of it? Can you take this map that we did in the meeting and make it better? And so that's how I learned digital graphics because I was building business for myself. So I was a yes. And whenever anybody asked for, I was like, yeah, I can do that. No problem. And then I'd go home.
yeah, you have to be that way. Yeah.
So I learned how to you know, I got a tablet that I can draw on digital, and now I can either do it live on paper or virtually on the tablet.
And how do people find you if they want to use your services?
That's a good question. I think it's mostly word of mouth so far, and I have a mailing list, and I do some sort of, you know, it's hard to market because for me anyway, because the first thing a marketing expert always asks you is who's your ideal client, and I'm like, ooh. Sometimes it's the head of HR, sometimes it's the head of the company who saw me at a retreat and says, I want you to come to our next offsite. Sometimes it's, you know, there's all these different kinds of people who would bring me into a meeting. And so I don't know I just like anybody who's having a meeting. So that's
So your website's chartmagic.com. So that
uh,
tells people a little more about you.
it's
If
chart
someone,
dash magic just for the, in
oh,
case you're
okay,
looking for it.
chart
Yeah.
dash magic. Okay. And
Right.
then uh, for if someone's trying to find someone like you, what words would they use to search? Because I've never heard the term graphics recorder. Would they use other
Well,
words as well?
yeah, that's what I was saying. I think some people, graphic recording, graphic facilitation, visual scribe, visual note taker, um,
Or my
visual.
artist. I'm looking for my artist. I love how they call you that.
Exactly, they just nutshell it. Some people call it, yeah. So that's a good question, and I probably should be asking people that more often. How did you find me? But I usually know it's usually a referral. That's usually like, well, or I saw you at a conference, and I want you to come to our next meeting.
So if you're on Facebook Live right now and you're in the chat, put in the chat what you think words you might use to find Paula Hansen and find someone like her. And, let us know what you think. I mean, I love this video that you created. You sent this to me last week and I saw, oh, I got to show this to everyone. And in case you didn't see the beginning of this video, we'll be saving the recording, so it'll be in my Facebook. But she talks about this journey of, how work is kind of slowed down because of COVID and like you have to be creative. What are you going to do? And so she learned this new software and spent 2 weeks putting this reel together. And it's basically a graphics recording and video of her telling a journey and narrating it. So how cool is that? I've never seen that before. Tell us a little more about that.
Well, actually, what happened was my friend, at the very beginning of the COVID time, for most of us, all of our events got canceled.
Hmm.
Mine took a couple weeks for everything to cancel, but hers all canceled in one day. She had like 10 jobs canceled in one day. She said she freaked out. So she made a video and I was like telling her story. She had a different story, but she made this video. And so I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So I started Googling what's the best video program and so forth. But it's basically it's like a live action capture of the drawing on the tablet. That'll give you the raw footage of the video, and then you have to learn a video editing program to make the audio recording and then fix the timing and take away mistakes and stuff like that. So and it turns out I did not quite know this, but you can learn anything on YouTube.
Yes.
You can learn, you can say in this program, really specific stuff. And someone's made a little video about how to do it. It's really
Yeah, I
great.
learned
So,
how to fix my mixing faucet in my tub. There's so many plumbers out there that want to make a difference. It's great.
I know, I love that people do that. It's so generous.
Yeah. And they have these little followings. It's very cool. So is this like a new offering that you're providing for
Yeah,
clients?
definitely. I right after that, like the next day, I think, or the second day after that, I had a client call me and said, we used to do all our training. It's an adoption, foster care and adoption center. And she said, we've been doing all our training for parents real time, but we can't do that now. We can't bring them into the center. And she said, I want to make a series of videos on a series of different topics because it's so important that our parents learn, because the kids, a lot of the kids they deal with are like traumatized and have attachment difficulties. You know, they've had tough backgrounds, and so they really need to get the parents help to because they're new parents with these adopted kids or foster kids. And she said, our parents need love and support. So I'm doing a series of videos for them on and I love the topics. They're all on, like, one's about staying calm. You know, they're really like healthy emotional health topics, which is another passion of mine. So that was, it was the very next day. I was like, I'm your person. I'm available and I have the skills.
So cool. So here's an artist who was a math major. I was a math major too in college, by the way, but I failed calculus, so I didn't finish my degree. But she got her degree in mathematics or computer science.
Oh, math. Just
Okay.
simple math,
So
yeah.
math, but then she loved art, has her master's in painting, and she's leveraged her artwork as a career, has a successful business, was able to pivot and create a new income stream for herself with these videos, with these explainer type videos that are live using the graphics recorder mentality. And I mean,
Yep.
I just hope there's someone out here in my Facebook community that sees this. I'm also going to post this on my YouTube because I just think it's fabulous what you do. I love artists. I love when they can monetize. You're my tribe. We support
Yeah.
each other, you know, and if it's okay with you, can I post in my Facebook the link to your video?
Oh, please do. Please
Okay.
do. And I have to say, I feel so privileged because, oh, I know one of the topics was play, how healthy play is.
Mm,
And I was like, making these videos is like playing.
yeah.
It's like play. It's so fun. I mean, it's the technical part is hard, but the playful part is really, so I feel really privileged. I'm aware, I feel really lucky because of exactly what you say. I ended up with a way to do what I love and have it be a business. So
Yeah, I'm
blessed.
working on a new freebie myself, which is a 5 series videos showing how to up-level your PowerPoint presentation design.
Oh, neat.
And I have to think of these graphics as I can't use all my clients, but I can pull some. But I'm thinking of these graphics of how do I convey that statistic, you know? And it's like, well, what
Mm-hmm.
statistics do I want to use? Well, there's COVID statistics, there's marriage statistics, there's dating statistics, you know, just simple stuff. And I'm just having fun, like, oh, that's a good statistic. You know, we can all relate to that. And then showing it how you can visually make it better on a slide. So I get it. You know, I love the work that I do. I get mesmerized in it. It's kind of like like late at night when the phone's not ringing, I can just disappear in it. And I don't know where all the time went, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really is. Sometimes when you said, what do people say? More than once, someone has come up to me while I was working and whispered in my ear, you have the best job in the whole room. More than once. And he said, because they can tell I'm being playful and having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I know when I work live events and the speaker wants to come back and make changes to their slides. So they're looking over my shoulder and I'm
Mm.
making the change very quickly for them. And this one guy, I loved it. He was a doctor and he takes this deep breath. It was a cardiologist conference. He goes, I got to learn PowerPoint. And I was just like, yeah, I got to learn heart surgery. I mean, that was how ridiculous it sounded to me because we all have our expertise. And it's like, when are you going to give it up and let the expert do it? You know? So I'm just
That's
really great.
hilarious.
Yeah. We
I
became
gotta
great,
learn
great
hard.
friends, by the way. He was, I think he almost fell out of his chair when I said that, but you know, I totally love these guys, what they're about. It's just that they need help with their visual communicating because they're great as doctors. They're great at their skill. They're great at conveying the complex medical stuff, but it's hard for them to kind of visualize, you know, how can we best convey this information so that they can easily understand it and remember it later. Because
Mm-hmm.
this is another thing, you know, goldfish have an attention span of 8 seconds. Humans have now only an attention span of 7 seconds. So we have to get that information out to them quickly. And that's where the graphics comes in, because we all know a picture's worth 1,000 words. So visually, we can get 1,000 words in a picture in microseconds. Where trying to read stuff or listen to someone takes forever. So you and I both have this talent of conveying visually that they can really get it in their bones what you're communicating. So that's what I love.
Yeah, I love that statistics. I forget what it is. But it's a lot of zeros. How much faster the visual processing goes
Yeah.
than the words, because it's like your survival brain is processing that in a heartbeat,
Yeah.
while your other brain goes, "What do the words say?"
So fun. Well,
Yeah.
I want to wrap up, but I just want to
Okay.
say thank you so much for joining me. You will be talking again in the future. I'm totally going to refer you to my clients. And if they have never heard of it, I said, you got to check this out, because it's just another way of engaging your audience in a live event. And you can do virtual live events too, right?
Oh, definitely. Virtual, you know, you do the digital recording. Those are my two areas right now in the virtual world, is the virtual graphic recording, you know, doing it digitally live, and then the videos, because everybody needs to explain what their work is about. And in
Mm-hmm.
a 3 minute, I think, you know, in a 3 minute video, you could get it across, and so that's my new excitement, is getting the videos going.
Well, I'm going to call you after this, and I'm going to talk privately about how I can use your services, because I'm excited. Like that new program you just learned is like, wow, I see so much potential. I'm working with other marketeers, and they need to know about this. So
Awesome.
your dance card must be booked full, or it will be. So, any last words for you, Paula?
No, thank you. It's been such a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah.
I love your tribe. I love I feel part of your tribe. So thanks for including me.
Awesome. Thank you, Dory, for introducing us. This was awesome. So till next
Okay.
time, thank you for joining me in this Facebook Live, and we'll be doing more of these. All right?
Absolutely. Okay. Take
All right.
care.
Thanks.
Bye.